I was at dinner yesterday and we were sitting around and my friends were having cigars. I do not partake in cigars, but I was having a very lovely lager that was made by a local distillery, I must mention. And we're sitting around chatting about historical tales. And we were talking about the Silver Bridge collapse, which occurred in West Virginia in 1967. And tomorrow will be the anniversary of that deadliest bridge collapse in the United States of America. And as I mentioned that, somebody said, "Wasn't that the bridge that the Soviets were supposed to build?" And of course, I go, "What? What? How did the Soviets get in this story of the worst bridge collapse in America?" No, 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 no. The guy goes and he's like, "No, I got it up. It was on the West Virginia and Kentucky border. It was on the other side of the state. There was a bridge that the Soviets were going to build because it was so shoddy that nobody else did it." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So that began me doing some research today. There's a little community along the Tug River, and the Tug River is the boundary between West Virginia and Kentucky. We're talking way southern West Virginia and south and eastern Kentucky. There's a little village called Vulcan, West Virginia. It was set up around the 20th century to be a patch community, a coal town for coal miners. Though it seems that they must have mined the Kentucky side of the river. I don't think or they may mine the West Virginia. They were coal miners. I think they actually mined the Kentucky side because the only way these West Virginian citizens could travel was they had to go across the Tug River on a swinging bridge into Kentucky and then take the Kentucky roads back into West Virginia because the state never provided them a proper bridge. The coal companies did not provide their people a proper bridge to get out of their town, which probably a reason for it. The coal companies don't like their workers going far. They want to keep them there 24/7 to mine as much coal as possible, to deliver as much product as possible. And this went on for many years. A lot of people were upset but stuck with it. They took their script from the company. There was reports that if they wanted to go across to Kentucky, get out of Vulcan to go across, they would have to go across the Norfolk and Western rail line. The problem was that Norfolk and Western had a routine of parking coal hoppers right in front of the swinging bridge. So there's stories of kids having to crawl under the coal hoppers to go to work. Uh, as I say, no, not go to work, to go to school. But we're talking about coal companies in West Virginia and Kentucky. I wouldn't put it past them. They were employing young kids. So Vulcan was a small patch town. Coal mines operated up through the Second World War. Coal industry goes bust in that area. And Vulcan is essentially trapped. These citizens of West Virginia can't get out of their own town unless taking the swinging bridge into Kentucky. And well, since the coal company's no longer around, nobody's maintaining that swinging bridge. And by the 1970s, that bridge was starting to fall into the Tug River. Things were getting pretty bad. Now, there was a service road that ran on the West Virginia side of the Tug from Vulcan and ran up to the nearest community north of Vulcan. But the Norfolk and Western put gates over the service road and told anybody who was found on it that was not a railroad employee, they would be fined for trespassing, as they claimed it was unsafe to travel the service road. So the one road on the West Virginia side they couldn't use. So the community, seeing that their swinging bridge was falling apart and that they're about to become trapped in their decaying little village because there's no income anymore, they started appealing to county officials. Hey, can we repair our swinging bridge? Or even better yet, can you provide us a road bridge to get out? To which the county said, oh, we don't have the funds for that. So the townspeople began petitioning the state of West Virginia. Funny story. They also said, oh, we don't have the funds for that. After all, according to our topo maps, you have a road that goes from Vulcan to the nearest village north. The townspeople said, that's not a state road. That's a private road for the railroad. We can't use that. Which the state said, you're just reading the maps wrong. You're just reading the maps wrong. And this went on till we get to 1976. Let me double check the dates right on that. Pre-death checking. So 1976, 1977, around that time, The self-appointed mayor of Vulcan, Vulcan was unincorporated, didn't have an official mayor, but the leader of the local population, he appealed to the United States government, to which the United States went, sorry, we can't help you. So you appeal to your county, you appeal to your states, you appeal to your federal government, and nobody's willing to cough up a few $1,000s to build a small bridge to give you access to the rest of the world. So what are the people of Vulcan to do? They appeal to the Soviet Union for foreign aid. And the crazy part is the Soviet Union did took the took the letter from Vulcan, read it, and they must have had some interest in it because they actually sent a Soviet reporter to the United States to investigate. Now, I'm unsure if that reporter was able to get for customs or not, but the Soviet Union did send a reporter, so at the very least, they were interested in getting involved in this project. Could you imagine if there was a bridge on the West Virginia Kentucky border in the heart of the Rust Belt of the United States of America that was built by the Soviet Union? And what would they have done? Would they have sent Soviet workers? Would they have sent the Red Army to go work on the build this bridge? And then we were joking as at our cigar night, we were joking about what would they have done? Would they have emblazoned sickle and hammers on the cement pillars of this bridge? This would have been the high watermark of the Soviet Union, building a bridge for a West Virginia community that had basically been ignored by the United States government. Well, when the word got out of this happening, the press went wild with it. And I'm not going to say it was national number one news, but it was prominent in headlines of several newspapers across the country, including the Spokane Times reported on this. And as King Bob says, and thus Red Dawn was born. Yeah, this is the origin story of Red Dawn. This is why they were all paratrooping in Red Dawn. They weren't there to attack the Americans. No, this was in Red Dawn. That was the work crew coming to work on the bridge in Vulcan. Well, news ran wild within the United States, and within an hour, the people of Vulcan got a phone call and said, "Oh, we got the funding. We got the funding. The state of West Virginia, we're going to fund this. Yep, no problem. You're going to get a bridge. Bada bing, bada boom." And the Soviet Union never came to the United States to build a bridge because within an hour of the national government having word that the American citizens were so desperate to have some of their infrastructure restored that they would appeal to the enemy of the United States government. Within an hour of hearing that, oh, that changed everybody's tune very quickly. And Vulcan, West Virginia did get their bridge, albeit a one-lane concrete bridge, which if you go onto Google Maps today, you will find is heavily graffitied. Uh, the railroad still goes for Vulcan. It's now Norfolk and Southern, though I think they only have two tracks, and I don't think they're blocking the bridge anymore. I think they're on the other end of Vulcan. And the service road's still there. And what I find interesting, if you go on Google Maps, you will see it labeled as Vulcan Road. It's Google Maps swears you there's a road in 2023 to run from Vulcan, West Virginia, along the Tug River to the nearest community north on the West Virginia side of the river, even though it is still only a service road of that railroad and cannot not be used by the general public. So that is the story of the Vulcan Bridge and how the Soviet Union almost build a bridge in the United States of America. It was just something I found completely interesting. Oh, and like Fuman Blue saying, well, the Chinese build here, why not? That's interesting to mention that because here we are in the late 1970s, heresy that the Soviet Union are going to accept the appeal for foreign aid from West Virginians. How the United States government, how dare they do that? West Virginia, how dare they do it? Today, China State Construction Engineering Corps, headquartered in Jersey City. Boy, how the times have changed. Or as Trippy says, the more things change, the more they stay the same.